Hello everyone, it's everyone's favourite feisty feline, Xephas Gracepaws here. If you're new around here, please subscribe and ring that bell for more furry fandom related content. Also, want to join my Discord community, link in the description. So today I'm back with my Rantpaws series, and it's a pretty serious topic that I want to speak about today, and it's not really something that I've spoke about before, and I know that I kind of tend to keep these kind of light and jokey, but this is a bit more serious, and it's about something that's unfortunately kind of come up again in the furry fandom, and I think will continue to come up until we're ready to kind of all come together and address it, which is what I kind of want to do with this video. So that issue is zoophilia. So for those of you unaware what it is, it's basically engaging in sexual acts with animals. I'm just going to start off by saying it's disgusting. Let's just hop right into the rant. So the first point that I'd like to make is that zoophiles are very much not welcome in the furry fandom. A lot of people misinterpret furry and zoophile to be kind of the same thing. That's definitely not true, and I think the problem is that zoophiles in the furry fandom give the furry fandom as a whole a bad name. I mean, ultimately we're a fandom of people who appreciate anthropomorphic art and are sort of into that, and unfortunately because of that it kind of does attract those kind of fringe groups like zoophiles to gravitate towards the furry fandom, and they see it as kind of almost a cover, if anything. I think I'm not 100% sure if that's how they see it, but I think that's how it does get perceived, and I think that's a bad thing because it gives the whole fandom a bad rep. And I mean, we all know how hated furries are on the internet in general. This just kind of makes the whole thing worse, quite frankly. I think we can all agree that sex with animals is disgusting. Like, it's horrible. I honestly couldn't even imagine it. It actually makes me feel physically sick. It's wrong, it's disgusting, and ultimately, I mean, animals can't consent, so there's something seriously underlying wrong with that. And for some reason there are people in the furry fandom who think that it's perfectly acceptable to do that kind of thing and kind of get away with it almost because of the furry fandom, which it certainly shouldn't be the case. I've also heard a lot of people going around Twitter trying to defend people and saying that zoophilia is like a sexuality, you know, like you know, heterosexuality or homosexuality. Like, zoophilia is its own sexuality, and I honestly, no, I disagree. It's not a sexuality. I don't think you can have a sexuality that is kind of ultimately a crime. I know, like, one of the main arguments is that homosexuality used to be a crime and now it's acceptable, but I don't think zoophilia, and I hope zoophilia will never get to that point, because it is wrong and it is disgusting, and it's certainly something that we should look down upon as the whole fandom. So this is an excuse that I've seen thrown about all the time on Twitter, is that people change and we should forgive people. Now, I agree that people do change, but I still think that their actions can't be excused. You know, if somebody robs a bank, they can't stand up and say, well, I've changed. It's like, well, no, you still have to face the consequences of what you've done, and then you can sort of go back to being like, yes, okay, you've changed. There's a lot of this going around with a lot of people on Twitter who have been like, well, they've changed, therefore it's fine, but there's a lot of people who haven't faced the consequences of what they've done and are claiming to have changed, and the problem is that the whole people change mentality is being used quite a lot at the moment, especially within the fandom regarding zoophilia, to excuse others and to kind of alleviate any kind of blame. And unfortunately that's not really a good attitude to have, because it doesn't help. If somebody does do something like that and they're genuinely kind of regretful over what they've done, I think that by all means, yes, people can change, but I think that there needs to be some kind of punishment for what they've done, some sort of a consequence for their action. So yes, people can change, but you shouldn't use that as an excuse to you know, let them off what they've done ultimately. And we've got another big problem currently with people who allegedly did horrible things, Like, I'm talking things like zoophilia, also paedophilia, and sort of grooming, stuff like that, who are sort of trying to come back into the fandom at the moment. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to start any drama, but there are people who are trying to sort of make their way back into the fandom after being chased out, under the guise of, oh, I've changed, people change, but the person in question, who, once again, I'm not going to name, has never really admitted any guilt for what they've done. You know, they've very much stood up for what they've done time and time again, like said, oh, it's fine, it's, you know, it should be acceptable. Never admitted any guilt for what they've done, and ultimately never really faced any consequence. I guess the consequence being they were ran out of the fandom, but the fact that they're starting to come back, it's kind of like they've never really faced that consequence if they come back. And I've got a final note that I kind of want to leave this on, is that it's not all furries are zoophiles. Like, that's a very big misconception, is that furries are all into animals sexually, which is not the case. There are people who are into, like, not safe for work art, which is fine. I don't consider not safe for work art of anthropomorphic characters zoophilia in any way. What I do consider would be, you know, actually pursuing sexual acts with an animal. That is zoophilia, and that is wrong. But a lot of people kind of lump furries and zoophiles into the same category, and I think that's just wrong, that's bad. And unfortunately, because there are members of the furry fandom who are zoophiles because they feel it's a safe space for them, it kind of enables that thinking and propagates that mistruth a lot more than it really should. I think to kind of counter that, we all need to work together to those people who are found out to be zoophiles within the furry fandom. We need to, like, all work together to remove them from the fandom, because ultimately it's our reputation. It makes us all look bad, and I mean, we're already very hated in terms of the media. That's getting better, to be fair, the media, but the media don't like us. General internet populace don't like us, and I think things like this is gonna worsen things if we allow it to. So if we allow people who are zoophiles to stay in the fandom and to not face repercussions for their actions, it is just going to bring the whole experience down for everybody, and it's going to cause a lot of people to think of the furry fandom in a very kind of highly sexual, zoophilic way, which we're ultimately not. We are just a group of people who like anthropomorphic characters, but obviously due to the misconceptions and everything, and a lot of this happening where zoophiles are being found out in the furry fandom, it's kind of making it an easy target for people who consider it to be that. So there we go, that was a little more serious than my previous videos, but I think it's something that really needs to be said, something that I really wanted to discuss after seeing it on Twitter this week. Yeah, bear in mind this is just like a rant. I've not written a full script. I've just made some light bullet points as to what I wanted to kind of speak about and come back to. So hopefully this has managed to get all of my thoughts across. I apologise if it's a little bit all over the place. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.